All right, shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachak. Double honors to the apostles and those of great millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect. All right, sincere brothers pushing this truth. Okay, I'm the brother Aina from GMS Dallas, and got the elder Yatazak here as well. And we're going to continue on this series, man, of the book of Second Esdras. And when we left off, we kind of pretty much stopped in the middle of the chapter. So we read up into verse 30. So we're going to start from there. And just kind of as a recap, all right, with this book in general, this is a conversation that Ezra was a man that was living during the Medo-Persian Empire, okay? And he was of the exiles of of Israel, specifically of Judea, okay? And so during the time of the exile of Israel, okay, which was about 70 years, okay, you had Israelites that were completely just estranged from the culture and from the heritage of Israel as in general, being that the temple was destroyed. We also the sacrifice, which was at the time was the way to atone for sins, was also that avenue was also taken away. Okay, so this is a very low time in Israel's history as a nation. And basically what Ezra was lamenting about to the Lord was that, you know, basically Israel at that time was at a very low point. Again, us, having the history of being a sovereign nation, having you know, our own lands according to the the different tribes of Israel. Each tribe had its own land allotments, right? And basically all those things were pretty much done away. And so he was asking, Lord, like, what's next? And so pretty much this entire book pretty much encompasses what was to come from that point, which when we started this series, we pretty much whittled it down to around 500 BC. That was when Ezra um, pretty much was on the scene. You know what I mean? Maybe a little bit before. So about 2,500 years ago. Okay. Now, let's go on back here. Okay, to Second Ezra. All right, and the first half of the chapter was pretty much prophecy of end time prophecy, which is why you'll see us bring these verses out, pretty frequently. This first half of the chapter we're bringing out a lot, because we're living in end time prophecy right now. And the second half of the chapter is pretty much Ezra speaking. And so we're just going to continue from verse 30 without further ado, unless you had any points, Aquan.
No, you can go ahead.
Okay, cool. All right, so this is second Ezra 6 and 30. It says, and these words, yeah, this is verse 30. It says, and these words said he unto me, I am come to show thee the time of the night to come. This is the angel of the Lord speaking. All right, verse 31. If thou wilt pray yet more and fast 7 days again, because in order to receive this basically answer, or this explanation, Ezra had to fast 7 days. So he was already on a 7 day fast at this point. Okay, what we're reading here in verse 30, and he had just received this this breakdown from the Lord. Okay. And so the Lord said, the angel of the Lord said, if thou wilt pray yet more and fast 7 days again, I shall tell thee greater things by day than I have heard. So he was saying, look, there's more to this. And if you continue down this path of chastity, okay, I'm gonna give you more, I'm gonna give you more. Okay.
I'm saying this is proof. This is proof that fasting and praying is legitimate for this time. You know, when Yahushua was with the disciples, they didn't have to fast. But then after he died and was resurrected, the fasting picked up more. You see, so with nothing being new under the sun, fasting and praying is still a part. Is still a major part of our customs. You know what I'm saying? You fast how you fast. That's between you and the Lord, but you have to incorporate that into your walk. You know, you got it.
Con. I want to get this real quick in Sirach 43. Because a 7 day fast, that ain't nothing to sniff at, man. I mean, you know, I personally have never fasted that long, Um, I mean, it's possible, you know what I mean, with water, it's possible. Uh, for certain people, it is technically possible, but even a 3 day fast, like, that's that's a solid fast right there. You know what I'm saying? Just no, you know, I'm not even talking about a dry fast, even just 3 days with no water. Now, I don't know if this was a dry fast or not. It could have been, but the men back then, they were, able to do these fasts that, nowadays, if, a lot of people would try them, we see news articles from time to time, different Christian plantation Christianity, anti-Messiah Christian pastors, trying to fast for, days and weeks on end, they end up giving up the ghost, you know what I'm saying? But these fasts, man, that these men accomplished, bro, like that's when the scriptures say, during the Day of Atonement, afflicting your soul. That's what this is going into. You're afflicting your soul by by abstaining from things that pleasure the flesh.
And then
Okay.
the thing is, with take Esdras for example, the information that he was given from the angel was so heavy that fast wasn't nothing for him. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? He was more focused on trying to get the understanding to where he wasn't worried about eating or drinking. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? So when he was going over that information, when he was trying to understand through the spirit what he was told, getting that understanding, he wasn't worried about eating. So that week of fasting went by. Who knows how quick it went by for him? You see.
Right.
But when the angel mentioned the fasting more, he was like, "Okay, cool." He didn't have no problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't. He was like you said. He was already in a fast.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't like
Yep.
the angel gave him some information and he was like, "Well, shit, I'm hungry. I need to eat something." No, he was in the spirit. That's an example of how it's gonna be for us. You know what I'm saying? When the rest of the world is starving, the scriptures say we gonna eat, but we're not gonna be worried about it like that.
Yep.
What's next, Lord? What you want us to do next? Okay, you told me that. We got it. We understand that. What's next? That's the spirit Esdras was in. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Go ahead.
Con. I got a couple precepts here that came to mind while you were going into that. Um, I'll start at Job chapter 23, verses 11 and 12. It says, my foot hath held his steps, his way have I kept and not declined. Neither have I gone back from the commandment of his lips. I have esteemed the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. Right. And that's the spirit that Ezra was in. He said, look, like, I would rather hear from the mouth of the Lord, than to be, eating this food right now. I mean, should we eat food, pretty much every day of our lives? Food is always going to be there, but the word of the Lord is more valuable than that. So that's obviously, anytime that the opportunity comes up is always a good trade-off.
Baba
Okay.
Kasha, can you go to that precept where the Lord said, My meat is to do the will of the Father?
Yeah, that was the one I was gonna get next. I had that next. I wanted to get
Uh,
this one first.
my man.
Yeah, yeah, that was the one. That was the one. I was gonna read this one first, but I wanted to get the Job first. But this is
Cut.
this is one here in St. John 4 and 34, and you can break it down, of course. Uh, St. John 4 and 34. Actually, I'll start up in verse 32. Verse 31. It says, in the meanwhile, his disciples prayed him, saying, Master, eat. But he said unto them, I have meat to eat that ye know not of. Therefore said the disciples one to another, hath any man brought him aught to eat? Yahushua said unto them, my meat is to do the will of him that sent me and to finish his work.
You see, so it's more important to be in the spirit than it is to feed the flesh. And that's pretty much all. That's all it's talking about. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Did somebody go get him something to eat? Master, you got to eat something. You got to eat something. Look, I'm not here to eat, drink, and be merry. I'm here to fulfill the will of the Heavenly Father. You see?
Mhm.
So that was more important than the meat. So that meat that he was talking about, get that word for meat.
Gone.
You know what I'm saying? That meat that he was
Yep.
talking about was spiritual meat, right? I'm feeding my spirit by pleasing the Heavenly Father. And that's more important than having a physical piece of meat to chew on. I just made a brisket today, but I would much rather be in the spirit with the Lord dealing with me than to taste that brisket. You know what I'm saying? Even though I seasoned it up, I did this, I did that. This is more important. That's what you take from that, right? The Lord was like the scriptures describe Yahweh as a gluttonous wine bibber, so he didn't have no problem eating and drinking. You see, but when it comes to the meat, the will of the Heavenly Father, that's more important. I'd rather do the work first, then I worry about eating. I worry about pleasing the Lord before I worry about pleasing my flesh. You got it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. His detractors, try to call him a glutton because he partook in the wine. You know what I'm saying? So whether you abstain or partake, that they always gonna find something to say against you. Um, so this is the word for meat, which is G1033 broma, and it says that which is eaten, food, victual, literally. It says let's see, uh, meats and drinks, that which is eaten. Um, it says of the soul's ailment, either
Now,
instruction.
did did not with Peter with the Gentile situation, rise, kill, eat, right?
Hmm.
Meaning take in this understanding. Okay, understand what the scripture is talking about. That's meat, right? The meat, my meat is to please my Father. That's what I'm surviving off of. It's bigger than a sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is way bigger than a sandwich, brother.
Con. Yeah, it says meats and drinks, but then also it says of the soul's aliment. If I'm pronouncing that right, I looked up that word aliment, food, nourishment, sustenance. Um, and when you go here, the sustenance of the soul, for example, instruction, or that which delights. Here's the point: that which delights and truly satisfies the mind. So instead of satisfying your belly, okay, you're satisfying, or you are nourishing, or sustaining your mind. Okay,
They call it food for thought.
that's it. That's
Food for
it.
thought is
That's
not something you're gonna chew on. Food for thought is something that you're gonna meditate on in your mind.
that's right.
You got it.
That's right. Yep. Peace of mind too, because when you do this work, that's when you feel like, okay, like, like you can rest, like, okay, like, yeah, what's the word, like, you feel not accomplished, but we know our purpose is you feel fulfilled, basically.
Hmm.
Like, you know what I mean, you feel fulfilled, best way I can put it. you know and then when you go
Yeah,
too long. Mhm.
I would rather do this before I eat brisket.
Yep.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I stayed up all night cooking the brisket. Cool. That's what I'm saying. Before I partake in that brisket, I got to get this lesson done.
Con.
That's what I'm saying. The spirit, Lord say, the spirit being fulfilled versus my belly being fulfilled. The the spirit is first. You got to put the spirit first. You got it.
Con. So with that in mind, right? Oh, got somebody on the calendar board. Struggling with fasting. Okay, yeah, brother. I mean, fasting is an incremental thing. It's somebody put on a comment board that's struggling with fasting, but it's a transitionary thing. You know what I mean? You start, with you know, maybe intermittent fasting. You know what I'm saying? Like brothers do that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
intermittent fasting. You go because you fast when you sleep. You can't eat while you're sleeping. So we're always fasting. A fasting is of just abstaining from food. So every time between meals, you're fasting. You know what I'm saying? Now this society pushes snacks and all that stuff, curb your hunger, obey your thirst, all this bullshit. But really, like when you go back to the ancient world, you know, um, the main meal was had at evening time. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
that was the main meal that you had, and then you would go off the strength of that meal until the next day. Dinner when you dine. Really, breakfast it has it in its name. Breakfast. You're breaking the fast. You know what I'm saying? With some food in the morning, but really, if you're intermittent fasting, then you won't need to break the fast until maybe later on in the day. Or some brothers like when you intermittent fast, you may go 18 hours, you know what I'm saying? Fasting, and then within a window of time, you'll eat. You know what I'm saying? And then you work up. Okay, now I'm fasting for 20 hours, and I'm only eating within a 4 hour window. And then next thing you know, you'll be able to go a whole 24 hours, which we already do that during the Day of Atonement anyway. We already do that when we fast and we do a dry fast, no food, no water for 24 hours. Anybody can technically do that and be fine, but it's just that flesh, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But,
I was,
you
and
know,
then you could just eat whenever you get hungry. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like, if I'm not hungry, I'm not gonna eat.
con.
And this society pushes to just eat all day. Like, there's no way that I can have 3 meals a day and 2 snacks. Like you know what I'm saying? That
Yeah,
that's what they
con.
that's what they push you to do. But if you just focus on just if I'm not hungry, I'm not gonna eat. That's gonna help.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, because Esau said, "Okay, lunch break," and then you trying to hurry up and scarf down and shit, but you're really not even hungry. But you like, well, if I don't eat now, I won't be able to eat till I get home, and I'm gonna be hungry by then. So it's really just retraining. You know what I'm saying? Your mind.
Yeah, because think about that. If your lunch break, my lunch break is usually around 1:45, 2 o'clock. If I'm not
Mm-hmm.
hungry, if I'm not hungry at lunch, then I'm gonna do something else at lunch. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? So if you're not hungry, don't eat. That's the best way we can put it.
That's right. And that's why the
And then
scriptures
fast,
say,
and also fasting gets you closer to the Lord, right? Because
"That's
when you
it.
deny your flesh, you're in a more angelic state. You see,
That's right."
so is like I said earlier. Yes, there's a brisket in my kitchen right now. I don't give a fuck about that brisket right now. I'm doing a lesson.
Yeah, that's right.
My meat is to do the will of the Father. Now, after I do the will of the Father, and we finish this lesson, and this lesson is on wax, you know what I'm saying? When I get hungry after that, there's a brisket in there waiting for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't eat the shit until I'm hungry.
Yep. Quick precept. And then we'll go back to the main topic at hand. Sirach 37 and 29. It says, "Be not unsatiable in any dainty thing," meaning like you don't have no type of discretion or any type of restraint. When it comes to whatever your soul lusts after. You know what I mean?
If
Like,
you eating 5 times a day, you unsatiable.
facts,
It
facts.
ain't no reason to be eating all day.
Hmm. Well, that's why these
But
motherfuckers so damn big.
that's what I'm saying. You know how much stuff you can get done in a day when you're not eating the whole fucking time? People
Hmm.
after they get through eating, they go to fuck to sleep.
Yeah. And then you can't sleep because your stomach's full and digesting all night. So you wake up all groggy.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's not for your benefit to be eating all day. You know what I'm saying? When you go into the scriptures, you see men fasting for 40 days.
Yep. Heavy. Yeah.
So that shows you that eating is not that important when you're in the spirit.
Fine.
You got it.
Yeah. This is the point here in verse 30, and we'll go back to Second Ezra. It says, Sirach 37 and 30, for excess of meats bringeth sickness, and surfeiting will turn into choler. Right? Surfeiting, and I'm gonna get that. I guess it won't let me. Hold on, let me do it like this. It says surfeiting will turn into choler. Surfeiting definition: surfeit, cause to desire no more of something as a result of consumed it in excess, meaning you stuff
Yeah.
yourself
You
to
done
the
burnt
brim.
yourself out.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You done eat till your stomach about to explode. Now you can't do one jumping jack, otherwise you feel like you about to give up the ghost. That's surfeiting. You know what I'm saying? And then Kohler, it says one of the four bodily let me see here. Bring this up. Kohler, bile or anger. Uh this ain't even the full. Here we go. Kohler in the Bible. Uh intense anger, wrath, or irritation, really irritation, irritation of the flesh, you know what I mean? And illness. Okay. Illness like diarrhea, cholera, you know what I mean? So yeah, you eating too much, you'll destroy yourself. So, it's all about balance at the end of the day. Okay. Now, anyway, going back here. Oops, didn't mean to do that at all. All right, going back here to Second Ezra 6 and 30. All right, it says, and these words he said he unto me, I am come to show thee the time of the night to come. If thou wilt pray yet more and fast 7 days again, I shall tell thee greater things by day than I have heard. For thy voice is heard before the Most High. For the mighty hath seen thy righteous dealing. He hath seen also thy chastity. Okay, what did Paul say, or was that Peter, that I may present thee as a chaste virgin? I think that was Paul.
Paul.
You know, uh, okay, being chaste. Like basically reserved. Okay, it says that chastity which thou hast had ever since thy youth. Okay, the scripture says that the elect, they're going to be virgins, meaning they won't be guilty of fornicating with other ideologies. Okay, basically pure. Ezra was a believer, man, and a man of the Lord. Okay, and so it says, verse 33, therefore hath he sent me to show thee all these things, and to say unto thee, be of good comfort, and fear not, and hasten not with the times that are past, to think vain things.
Now stop
Okay.
right there. Stop right there. Now, the angel is telling Ezra, look, this is what you focus on, but for right now, I'm gonna take you back to the beginning. You see, the Lord did this with all of us. He took us back to the beginning. Okay. We got all these questions. Why are we in this position? Why did this happen? Why did that happen? Okay. To get those answers, you have to go back to the beginning. That's what's wrong with all these other people on the planet. You see, they don't think they have to go to the beginning to get the answers that they want, to get the answers that they seeking. Okay. That's why it goes from this chapter goes from prophecy to history. You see,
Mhm.
you gotta know all of that to have an understanding. And if you don't know all of that, you're not gonna have the understanding. Okay, you got it.
Gone. All right, verse 33. Excuse me, verse 34. It says, and hasten not with the times that are past, to think vain things, that thou mayest not hasten from the latter times. Um, I want to get a precept on that note. Okay, this is Isaiah 28:16. It says, "Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, behold, I lay in Zion for a foundation, a stone, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, for a sure foundation." Okay, that precious cornerstone, that foundation is Yahweh Shai. Okay, the Lord set up Yahweh Shai for the elect. Okay, to be able to um, you know, receive the promises, man. Okay, because without Yahweh Shai, there's no way we were going to be able to get, into those new bodies. Okay, through just the practicing of the Levitical priesthood. Okay, so it says, and here's the point: He that believeth shall not make haste. Okay, you're not going to run out of patience. Okay, you're not going to uh try to now don't get me wrong, we're looking forward to the future 100%. Okay, but not to the point where we putting a time limit on Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai to perform, his his works, because when you remember earlier, Ezra was basically trying to see like how much more time do we have left, like why didn't the Lord just bring everybody forth that was meant to be birthed so that the the salvation could come sooner. And the angels just reminded him like, uh don't be, don't be hasty in these times, so that way when you come back, because again, how you are, how the things we're doing today in 2025 going into 2026 is the same stuff that we was doing in our past lives, you know. So back then it was like, look, make sure you fulfill your lot, don't veer off from that, and not to be too hasty, so that way in the latter times, okay, you're gonna have the right spirit. Okay, verse 35, and it came to pass after this that I wept again and fasted 7 days in like manner. Kind of reminds me of like when Yahushua, he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he was praying all night. He didn't go to sleep that night. He was in the garden. He wanted his disciples to stay up, and what I mean, to kind of, succor and help him, what I mean, just with that morale, and he had to go through it alone. And sometimes, bro, when the Lord brings you through stuff, I mean, it is down that solitary path, and basically you gotta go through it. Okay, but once you come out of it, you ultimately are refined. Okay, and so the Lord made Ezra go through another week of fasting before he got this, extra. And actually, Second Ezra 7 is one of the chapters that we bring out the most. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's in Second Ezra, and so um, this is the his mindset after this 2 weeks of fasting. This is the mindset that Ezra was in. We're about to tap into it right now. Okay. It says, and it came to pass after this that I wept again and fasted 7 days in like manner, that I might fulfill the 3 weeks which he told me. Okay, so actually, I'm sorry, it says 3 weeks. So I think he was at 2 weeks, and now this is the third week. Okay. So my bad, Salaki, it wasn't just 2 weeks, it was three. Okay. And it says in verse 26, and in the eighth night, okay, after the third week of fasting, was my heart vexed within me again, because he's in this flesh. He's afflicting his soul. He's going through it. He's in a whole nother spirit. You know what I'm saying? He's been fasting for 3 weeks, so he's in a whole nother spirit. You know what I mean? And basically, it says in verse 36, and I began to speak before the Most High. Okay, for my for my spirit was greatly set on fire. and my soul was in distress. You know, and that's like pretty much how we, need to be. Okay. Sighing and crying. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get that real quick. Sighing and crying, Ezekiel 9. Oops. Okay, because I remember somebody asked Apostle Tahar on a chat or whatever, why do you guys complain so much? This was years ago. We're supposed to be complaining, man. You know, we're supposed to be complaining. All right. This is Ezekiel 9:4. Well, I mean, we're supposed to be rejoicing in this place. This is our captivity. We're supposed to be complaining. Okay. That's what sighing and crying is. It's Ezekiel
Oh,
9.
so the same person that'll ask you that will be in this car crashing out right before he go into work.
Yeah. Yeah. Why aren't you complaining? You know? It says, and the Lord Yahweh Bashmiel Shai said unto him, go through the midst of the city and through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry, for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof.
Get that word for midst.
Con.
Yeah, the midst of the city, the midst of Jerusalem. Let's see what that gives us.
Mm-hmm. Through the midst. Strong's 8432. Thawak. Midst. Among, within, middle. It says among as in a number of persons. Between, let me see here, anything else? Samuel. Let's see what we got here. I'm digging deep. Let's see if there's anything that pops out. Okay, here we go. The specific example in Ezekiel 9:4, into, okay, in or into a place, to go through the midst of a thing. I can't highlight it because it's like a PDF, I think. But it says Ibar Bathawak, to go through the midst of something. And then it quotes Ezekiel 9:4. It says also when referring to many people or many things among, amongst you in the midst. Okay.
Yeah, go amongst Israel and tell them what it is.
Con. That's right.
You're
Okay.
not worried about nobody else. You know what I'm saying? When you're in the midst of the people, the Israelites are going to attach themselves to the doctrine that you're teaching. You see, Isaiah 14 talks about cleaving unto Israel. That's talking about Israelites cleaving unto this truth. You know, just like we cleaved unto the apostles and elders, just like they cleaved unto the seven, just like they cleaved unto Elder Abba. You got it.
Con. It says actually that was the point. Okay. It says, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, okay, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry. Okay, and this is what Ezra.
That let you know that in the midst of the city, wherever you at, it's gonna be Israelites there. It's gonna cleave unto this doctrine.
Con.
You got it.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Now for the good part. Okay. This is well, it's all good, but this is back in Second Ezra 6 and verse 38. And I said, O Lord, thou spakest from the beginning of the creation, even the first day, and said thus. Now, basically, the rest of this chapter is going into Genesis, the first chapter. So, Second Ezra 6:38 on down, uh, is basically covering the Genesis chapter 1. Okay, which we're gonna go back and forth, but it says, let the heaven and the earth be made, and thy word was a perfect work. Okay. It says, and then was the spirit, and darkness and silence were on every side. The sounds of man's voice was not yet formed. So, the creation story. Okay, this was something that Ezra understood. Okay, this is not today. In these times, this is not taught. To our people. It's you taught the Big Bang and all this stuff. Okay, your idea of how the Earth was created does not have is not does not involve the Most High. Okay, according to Esau. All right, he thinks the Earth is billions of years old. Okay, but this understanding was, you know, I mean, it was pretty, it was pretty widely understood back then, right?
Hmm.
When you go into it, we'll skip, down a little bit, but Genesis 1:1, okay, all the way down through through verse 5, that's the first day. Okay, now when it says the first day, we know we'll get the scripture. The day of the Lord is 1,000 years, right? Um, in First Peter, all right. This is excuse me, Second Peter 3:8. It says, "But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing." It's important. All right, it's not a random thing that Peter just slid in there. All right, it says, "But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day."
Right. I
Okay,
will
so
say it tell you it's addressing the beloved, which is the house of David. You know what I'm saying? David, the name Dawudah goes into the beloved. You see? That's also the word for uncle. But having said what you just said, right? The house of David, no matter what the world is talking about, you know that 1,000 years down here on earth is one day to the Lord. So that
Mhm.
gives us the understanding that the creation story took place over 6,000 years. And on the seventh day, the Lord rested. You see,
Right.
the reason why the Lord rested on the seventh day is because within those 6 days, everything was created for us to go through the first death, the second death, on our way to forever, right? The creation is an obstacle course for the elect. You see,
Hmm. And it's gonna go into
to
it. It's gonna
start,
go into it. Yes,
right.
Lucky, go ahead.
Basically, the creation story is orientation.
Con.
You
Yep. How we
learning
got here.
you learning about a job so you can do it.
Yep.
Orientation. Go ahead.
Con. Yep. And a majority of Israelites are disoriented because Esau has done that. You
Hmm.
know. So this is the orientation, like you said, like the version, like you talking school, and you actually your senses being oriented.
Hmm.
You know. It says verse 39. Or actually, I'll read verse 38 again. Oh, I'm sorry, I read that. Verse 39. And then was the spirit, and darkness and silence were on every side. The sound of man's voice was not yet formed. Okay, like when it says the uh the earth was without form and void. Basically, it didn't exist yet. The earth, like how we know it, didn't exist. It was just matter, elements.
Right.
Okay, and before you had the earth formed, okay, you had darkness and light separated. Okay, basically illumination of elements. And Apostle Tahar, obviously the famous video, um the Apostle Tahar put up, back in the 90s, you know what I mean, obviously broke this down. Multiple brothers broke this down, but we're covering the chapter, so we'll go into it, right? It says in verse 39, I read that, verse 40. Then commandest thou a fair light to come forth of thy treasures, that thy work might appear. Okay, so again, the power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, moved, right? It says the spirit of the Most High moved upon the face of the waters. The spirit, really of the powers, really this word here is Alahayim, moved upon the face of the waters. Okay. And the powers said, let there be light, and there was light. And they saw the light that it was good. And the powers divided the light from the darkness. So that illumination was uh, was created, then basically moved to one side. Okay, which is why you have night and day. Okay. And it says in it's the wrong one. Verse 41, upon the hold on, let me see something. All right, cool. All right, cool. All right, this is verse 41. Upon the second day, thou madest the spirit of the firmament and commandest it to part asunder and to make a division between, every time I read betwixt, I always read between. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
A division betwixt the waters, that the one part might go up and the other remain beneath. So that's why, and this always fascinated me. Um, the heavens, the word for heavens in Hebrew is Shamayim. Okay, right? Real quick, I guess I guess I gotta prove my Hebrew guy title real quick. Oh, I'm in the wrong. I'm tripping. Let me go here. My bad. Heaven. Okay, here we go. See, it breaks it down. It breaks it down. I'm getting ahead of myself, but it's okay. The word for heaven. The word for heaven is Shamayim or Shamayim. Okay, that which pertains to, because Shah is a prefix. Okay, which means pertaining to. Okay, and then Mayum is the root word. Mayum means water, so that which pertains to the waters or the heavens. Okay, now going back here, when you read um, verse 6, okay, it says, and the powers said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. Okay, so coinciding here with the second let me see here, second day. Okay, the firmament, that is what divides the waters from the waters. What's the waters from beneath? The waters that are beneath is the actual, waters, that are in the earth, the sea, because the earth is majority sea. The earth is majority ocean, water, as far as the surface area. And then you got, um, the waters above, okay, which the waters above is untouchable, okay. Basically in between the waters of beneath the firmament and the waters above the firmament is the we'll say the heavens, if that makes sense. So you flying on an airplane, okay, the sky is blue when you're looking up and the water's blue looking down. You're between the waters, you're in the firmament, you're in the air. That's why that other word there, I kind of glossed over it, but it also is translated. I'm gonna go back to it real quick. That word heaven was also translated, because I'm gonna just read it real quick and then I'll go into the word. It says, and the powers called the firmament heaven. So the firmament equals heaven, right? When you go into that word heaven or shemayim, it says heaven, but also air. I kind of skipped over that. Okay, air, like the sky, basically, right? So that's basically what the firmament is. Okay. So let's go back here. Okay, and this is how the Lord made it. And to us, it's normal, like, you know what I mean? It's like how Esau try to you try to have his scientific explanations in it. It's really the power of the most high. Okay. But when you continue reading, okay, um, verse 41, upon the second day thou madest the spirit of the firmament and commandest it to part asunder and to make a division between between the waters, that one part might go up and the other beneath. That's another thing too. When you read in the story of the flood, it talk about the firmament of heaven opened up. Um, I think that's what Genesis 7, if I'm not mistaken, or 6, you know, it talks about that. Uh it talks about the waters, opened up, you know what I mean? I'll just pull it up real quick. Bring a flood. Okay, here we go. Yeah, here we go. Genesis 7 and yeah, okay. Real quick, Genesis 7 and 10. And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. Okay. And in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. What that mean? The the firmament let the waters come in and flood the hell out of the earth. Imagine how
Hmm.
much water it would take to cover the tops of every mountain, bro. That ain't just, you know what I mean? It had to come from somewhere. The fountains of the great deep. So it was flooding from beneath and flooding from above. Okay. So those waters are separated by the firmament. Okay. So you go back here to second Ezra 6, it says upon the third day, and this is Ezra, he in the spirit, he's 3 days in the fast. You know what I mean? He's calling upon all the, information that the Lord has given him. Okay. Upon the third day, thou didst command the waters, excuse me, command that the waters should be gathered in the seventh part of the earth. 6 parts hast thou dried up and kept them to the intent that of these some being planted of the Most High and tilled might serve thee. So at this point, all life was still, well, really, excuse me, there wasn't the there was it was still, the earth was still being formed. So, the life was created. Uh, it says on the fourth day. No, I'm sorry. I think what was it? The fifth day.
The no, the
The
fifth
living
day,
creatures.
the fifth day the living creature was created. The sixth day he was given order.
Yeah, so this is before the sun and the moon. So this is still, the Lord creating the earth, right? So it says on the seventh part, excuse me, the water should be gathered in the seventh part of the earth, and the 6 parts that thou dried up. Because remember, the Lord, before the flood, like the land was just basically one big conglomerate landmass, Pangea, right? So the earth was, and it talks about that. Actually, let me go back. Let me go back here. Okay, in verse 9, right? And the power said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And that's exactly what happened. Okay. The waters under the heaven, or the ocean, the sea, pretty much was gathered together into one place, to the point where a big, chunk of the earth was ended up being dry, because of, the waters was covering the other parts of the earth, to where
Right.
land.
You had one big last landmass surrounded by water. The
That's
flood
it.
broke that up into what the map looked like today.
That's right. That's right. And it says, to the intent that of these some being planted of the Most High and tilled might serve thee. Okay. Again, eventually, man was going to be living on the earth. Okay. Living on the dry land to serve Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Okay. It says, for as soon as thy word went forth, the work was made. Okay. Going back here, Genesis 1 and 10. And the powers called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And the powers saw that it was good. Okay. Uh, Next verse, 44. For immediately there was a great and innumerable fruit. All right, because now you got land now. Okay, to where grass and what I mean, trees and stuff can grow. Right. So for immediately there was great and innumerable fruit. So think over the period of 1,000 years, all the growth that was coming from this, right? And many and diverse pleasures for the taste, different fruits, stuff, and flowers of unchangeable color, okay, and odors of wonderful smell. And this was done in the third day. You see that? So
Right.
I
That's
guess you
what I
could
said.
say life. Yeah.
Paradise is being built for the Adamites,
Mm-hmm.
for the children,
Mm-hmm.
for the sons of God.
That's right. Con. Yeah, the life of plants started, on the third day. Okay. And so think about that. According to Esau, all the planets, was formed from the sun, from the leftover elements of the sun, right? You watch, I was a little kid watching the Science Channel, and he got this thing, yeah. So after the sun was formed, then the leftover elements became the planets. But here it is, you got plants, you got flowers and all these things, right? Coming up, which they say what the plants need what sunlight to live, right? Or plants need light to live, technically, right? Well, if there was no sun, how did they get the light? It was because the Lord created the light, all right, before the specifically creating the sun, the moon, and the stars. All right, the earth already has its own illumination. Okay, the sun and the moon and the stars were created afterwards. Okay, in
That's
the
what I'm saying.
fourth day.
So how are there trees that are billions of years old?
Yeah, yeah, fossils and but yeah, Esau, demon.
Yeah, get the
He
fuck
don't
out of
know.
here.
He's just guessing, and he guessing with a tie on, and with a clean shaven face, and a toupee, and Jake eats it up. You know. So it says in verse 45, upon the fourth day, thou commandest that the sun should shine, and the moon give her light, and the stars should be in order. Okay, and that's exactly what the sun, the moon, the stars are for. The sun is to tell us when the day starts and when it ends. The moon is to tell us when the month starts and when it ends. That's why scripture said in I think it's Sirach 43, basically the month is named after the moon. Okay, and the stars basically tell us where we're at in the year. You know what I mean? Because it kind of rotates, throughout the course of the year, right? And so everything's in order. Verse 46, and gave us them a charge to do service unto man, that it was made. But here you got people worshiping the sun and the moon, creating gods out of it. That lets you know that the heathen don't have no understanding. You see? So on the fifth day, for verse 47, upon the fifth day thou settest unto the seventh part, where the waters were gathered. All right, so the sea, the ocean, okay, as opposed to the land. It says that it should bring forth living creatures, fowls and fishes, and so it came to pass.
All right, now
So all
go to Genesis.
Mhm,
Go to
mhm.
Genesis 1 and 20.
Okay, all right. This is Genesis chapter 1, verse 20. And the powers said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life.
You see, and that moving creature that had life. You got Enoch, pursuant to Second Ezra 6, and
Hmm.
Leviathan.
Yep.
You see, so the Lord put Enoch over the land. He put Leviathan over the waters. You got it.
That's right. That's right. Okay. It says, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven.
That's what I'm saying. And the
Okay.
fowl. You see,
Yeah.
so the creation is all coming together at this point. Now, keep in mind, going into Second Ezra chapter 6, it goes from prophecy. back to history.
Yeah,
Okay, you got it.
because you have to understand the history to understand the mystery.
That's right.
Okay, and also, I don't know if we said it. The all the creatures came forth of the water. Okay,
Hmm.
all the creatures came forth of the waters. And again, this is over a course of 1,000 years. Okay.
So that's just like people when people ask that question, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, it would have had to been the fucking chicken,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
The,
Con.
the, the creation, people wise, they came up out of the waters, and the commandment was to be fruitful and multiply. So
Con.
the chicken came before the egg. If you really want to
Mm-hmm.
know that goddamn bad.
Con. Yep. And over time, over this 1,000 year period of the creatures, because it says the waters brought the Lord commanded this, just like how he commanded the sun, the same power that he used to command the land to come up, and this is the same power. Okay. He caused the moving creatures that have life to come forth out of the waters,
Hmm.
including the birds. Okay, including the fishes and everything. Okay, and ultimately, man too. you know.
Hmm.
So it says, verse 21. All right, and the powers created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly. You see that every living creature that moveth, spiders, snakes, well, tigers and lions and bears. You know,
Hmm.
after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind, and the powers saw that it was good. Okay. It says, and the powers blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. Okay. Now going back here, it says in Second Ezra 6 and 47, I'll read it again. It says, upon the fifth day thou settest unto the seventh part, where waters were gathered, that it should bring forth living creatures, fowls, and fishes. And so it came to pass. For the dumb water and without life, dumb meaning unable to speak, and without life brought forth living things at the commandment of the Most High. See, so that was another miracle, all right, that the powers, performed, okay, that all people might praise thy wondrous work. So this was the works of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai and the angels, okay, the Alahayim. It says verse 49, then didst thou ordain two living creatures, okay,
You
the
see, so
one,
after so the creation, as far as what you see, the seas, the land, the trees, the sun, the moon, the stars, all these things were created. And then the Lord said, you know what? For the waters, I'm going Leviathan, you got that. And for the land, Enoch, you got that. Which means means being a learned man, right?
mm-hmm,
Learning how to rule on earth.
mm-hmm,
Okay? And he also gave that to Leviathan, learning how to rule the seas. That's the way the Lord set it up. Okay. So Leviathan is the Jacob of the water world.
man, facts.
You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
Yep, basically, right? That's why he gonna come up, and bite Esau ass. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
Leviathan don't mess
Yeah.
with the white man either.
Right.
you know. All right, this is Second Ezra 6 and 50. Wait, I didn't read verse 49. It says, thou didst ordain two living creatures, the one thou callest Enoch, and the other Leviathan, which you just broke that down. Okay. Verse 50, and didst separate the one from the other for the seventh part, namely, where the water was gathered together, might not hold them both. Okay. one was made for the waters, the other was made for the land. That's just how the Lord made it. Okay. Uh, Unto Enoch thou gavest one part which was dried up the third day, that he should dwell in the same part, talking about the land. Okay. Enoch, man with understanding. Okay. Wherein are 1,000 hills, right? The world, are, very, very vast landmass. But unto Leviathan thou gavest the seventh part, namely the moist, talking about the ocean, the sea, and hast kept him to be devoured of whom thou wilt and when. Okay, so like you broke all that down already. Okay, Leviathan is set up. It's not just one big Leviathan. There's multiple, right? Leviathans. Okay, and it says, up upon the sixth day thou gavest commandment unto the earth, that before thee it should bring forth beasts, cattle, and creeping things. Okay, and that's what I think it was verse 24 talks about, right? It's pretty much a parallel. So we'll go back here, second Ezra 6, in verse 54. And after these, Adam also, okay, which Adam in the Hebrew is Adama, which means ground, okay, which you can read about in Genesis 2 and 1, okay, because basically when you round out Genesis, the first chapter, it says, I'll read verse 26, and the powers said, this is on the sixth day, let us, okay, us, mean plural, make man in our image,
Get the
after
word with
our,
image.
mm-hmm, that's right, in our image, meaning in the likeness of us, with the same mindset, with the same, ideologies, okay? Like the scriptures say, the Lord, created man to be immortal, but they have sought out many inventions. Okay. So we're created in the image of the powers, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth.
Right. To have
Okay.
dominion is to have rule over. You see?
Con.
You got people that ask, well, how did Noah get out? He had to chase all them animals down. No. He didn't have to chase a motherfucking thing.
It
Rulership.
was that.
He was given rulership over the animals. So all he had to do was, for the clean animals, come here. For the unclean animals, come here. Tell the animals what to do, because he was given dominion. Just like Adam was given dominion over the garden.
Mm-hmm.
Went off.
Yeah.
Dominion
Steve
over
Irwin.
something is having rulership over something.
That's right.
That's all. Noah didn't have to chase no bull. He didn't have to chase rabbits.
Yeah. It said how they came willingly. It's saying how they came, you know what I mean? They were more in the spirit than men were. Okay.
More animals were delivered than people.
Big time. Con.
Get the fuck out of here.
That's right. And before I go back to second Ezra 6, I'll read this last one in verse 27, Genesis 1. So the powers created man in his own image, okay, or in their own image, really.
And
Um,
for
it,
those who don't know, the powers is referring to Yahweh Shai and the angels.
Con.
Go ahead.
It says, in the image of the powers created they them, male and female created they them.
You
Okay.
see? So male and female were created the way the Lord set them up to be created.
Con.
You see? Male and female created he them. So he created male and female to fulfill his will on the planet. So
Hmm.
for the LGBT community, you out of pocket,
Facts.
right? You
Facts.
out of pocket. So say male and female created he them. So if the Lord created you to be a male, for you to want to be a female, you going off,
You got demons
and
on you.
vice versa. Go ahead.
Okay, so going back here, we're almost done with this. I think like three more verses. right? So verse 54, back in 2nd Ezra 6, after these, Adam also, who thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all. All right. Again, it talked about in chapter 2, right? And of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. Okay.
Right. So the people of Adam that are chosen will go back to the sons of God. Because out of the Adamites, you had three classifications of people. You had the sons of God, you had the sons of the wicked, and you had the sons of men. The sons of men are the other nations. The sons of the wicked go back to Edom. The sons of God go back to Israel.
That's right.
You got it.
That's right. Verse 55. And all this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. Okay.
Right? Going into the creation. The creation was for the Israelites. You see? But the Lord set it up to where we were going to understand wickedness and righteousness. So the creation story was about the obstacle course that the Lord set up for his chosen people to learn righteousness and wickedness so that forever can take place.
Con.
You got it.
Um, there was okay, let me go back here. What did I have here? Oh yeah, we're gonna get the uh oh man. The one you wanted, Isaiah 40. Yeah, we're gonna end off on this one. I just want to make sure I didn't forget it. All right, I'm gonna
Hmm.
wait for the end. All right, this is 2nd Ezra 6 and 57. I'm sorry, verse 56. As for the other people which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle. Okay, so he's quoting what the Lord said. He's the Lord, Ezra saying, "Look, you said that they are nothing." Okay,
Hmm.
it says, "And has
So,
likened."
so, so,
Mhm.
so, so he was going into the three classifications of people.
Right,
You said that the sons of men wasn't shit. You said that the sons
wicked,
of the wicked wasn't shit. So what's up?
kind.
You said that, which goes into what the Lord said. Look, give him, give him no rest until Israel is made a praise in the earth. It
Kind.
goes back to that. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, the Lord wants us to remember what He promised us. You know what? At the end of the day, Lord, you said Israel was not going to be consumed. You said the heathen wasn't going to make it. You said all these things. So now that we remember all these things, we bringing them up so that your will can be fulfilled. Remember, Lord, you said the heathen ain't shit. We're getting our ass whooped. We get it. We went off. You said
Mhm.
these other nations ain't shit. You said Edom was going into slavery. What's up with that? Lord is like, you know
Kind.
what? I remember I said that. I just wanted to make sure you remembered that. Now we can move forward.
Yep, that's right. Let me keep reading. Uh-oh. You still there, Zaquan? Okay, I don't know what's going on with your mic. I don't know if it's clipping. I see you nod your head, so I'm gonna keep reading, but I can't hear you right now. Um,
Finish it. You
um,
can finish the chapter.
yeah, okay, I heard it. I heard it coming. I think it's just kind of fading in and out for some reason. But it says verse 57. Um, all right, it says or verse 56, and has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. All right, low last priority, basically negligible value. Okay. And now, O Lord, behold, these heathen. You said all that to say this. Behold, these heathen, okay, which have ever been reputed as nothing, have begun to be lords over us and to devour us. But we, thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and thy fervent lover are given into their hands. If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? How long shall this endure?
The answer to
You
that
see?
is, and the answer to that is prophecy has to be fulfilled. Man,
Con.
it has to
Right.
be
The answer to that,
fulfilled for this to happen.
Con, that's right. That's right. All right. We're gonna read this here and we'll, close out here. Okay. Isaiah chapter 40, and this is where Ezra got this from. Okay, which shows you, hey, they read the scriptures. They didn't just, what I mean, get this out of nowhere. Isaiah chapter 40 and 15 through 17. Behold, the nations, all right, these nations, talking about the heathen nations, are as a drop of a bucket and are counted as the small dust of the balance. Behold, he taketh up the isles as a very little thing. All these little heathen that scattered around the earth, they're basically negligible, and they're not valuable at all to him. Okay, and Lebanon is not sufficient to burn. All the valuable things in Lebanon, if they offered everything up, it wouldn't even be reputed as anything valuable, nor the
So,
beasts thereof.
having said all that, what the fuck is Genesis talking about?
Facts.
I'm just saying. What do I say all the time through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai? You run out of precepts when you are lying.
Mm-hmm.
They lying. When you say that, when you talk about non-Israelite salvation, you lying, and you gonna
Right.
run out of precepts.
And the only person that benefits is the heathen. So why would you, believing that you are Israelite, even care about the heathen? It doesn't make sense. But anyway, it says, and Lebanon is not sufficient to burn, nor the beast thereof sufficient for a burnt offering. It's not even acceptable. It's all filthy, okay? Detestable in the eyes of the Lord. All right, because they're heathens. All nations before him are as nothing, and they are counted to him less than nothing and vanity.
So if you're
Okay,
less than nothing and vanity, how do you get salvation? You don't.
exactly.
You don't.
Yep, that's right.
We just gonna teach the Bible in sincerity and truth. Fuck all that other shit.
Yeah. Well, that's what that's what Deacon Nakas says. Hey, look, we're just gonna read the Bible, okay? So that's what we're doing. You
Yeah,
know,
you can read it, but the prophets will explain it.
that's right.
The fuck out of here.
Con,
Yeah,
you know,
and turn your back on the Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and you turn your back on the flock.
that's right. That's right. And that's a serious offense, man. You
Mm-hmm.
know. So we in the same spirit that Ezra was in. Okay, asking the Lord. I mean, and the beautiful thing is now in these times, in the last days of the last days, we have these answers. We have the record of this conversation. All right, and we believe in the words that were, passed on, as opposed to some people try, oh, how can you believe something that was translated and passed on and written over and, misinterpreted, blah, blah, blah. If you want to be an unbeliever, like the scripture say, to the unbelieving is nothing pure. You got to believe in something. If you don't believe in the truth, what you going to believe in? What Esau tell you? Good luck with that. You see? So, hey man, that was the end of chapter 6, Lord willing, which means Abaratazar, which means Lord willing. All right, this was edifying to the elect. All right, and next time we'll go over chapter 7. Okay, but until then, till next time, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and those a great millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect. Shalom.
Shalom.